Good morning. I'm the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, Interim Minister of this congregation. This morning's service follows our Soul Matters theme of opening to joy. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here.
No, it is flung. It is past. It is spread between you and me, between the one who just received a gift and the one that has been looking for it a long time. It's a beautiful and elegant contagion over which we have more control than we think. If only we share it. If only we notice that joy is not ours to keep, but ours to pass on. So, let's light up the world, friends. Joy blesses us with its exuberance, so we can make that blessing grow.
Deep calls unto deep, joy calls unto joy, light calls unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, of peace, of hope. And as one light, as one flame lights another, nor grows the less, we pledge ourselves to be bearers of the light wherever we are. Let us rise either in body or spirit for our opening hymn. Joyful, joyful.
Singing
Our story today is Naughty Claudine's Christmas by Patrick Jennings, illustrated by Suzanne Kaufman. Claudine was not fond of Santa. He watched you when you were sleeping and when you were awake, which is snooping. Same. He decided who was naughty or nice, and naughty kids didn't get Christmas presents, which wasn't nice. He landed on your house in the middle of the night, then snuck inside, which was rude. He landed on your house in the middle of the night, and Claudine did not want her to come to her house. If he doesn't come, said her big sister, Maxine, you won't get any presents. I don't care, Claudine answered, though she did. She wanted presents. She just didn't want Santa to break into her home. At the Polar Pavilion, Claudine stood in line for Santa. She asked Santa's helper to tell the real Santa that she'd like her presents mailed to her house instead of carried down her chimney. I'll tell him, the helper replied. Thank you, Claudine said, and walked away. Maxine said it didn't work that way, that Santa would come nevertheless because Claudine was not naughty. She was nice. Claudine thought about this, and then she banged. At home, she bubbled. She splashed. Then she did this. Looks like my house. Why did you do that, Claudie? Her dad asked. I'm naughty, Claudine answered. At bedtime, Claudine sang at the top of her lungs. Her mom came in and asked her to stop. Claudine stopped. After her mom left, she started up again. The next day was December 24th. Claudine did not make her bed on purpose. She left her pajamas on the floor on purpose. She painted the soles of her feet pink and marched back and forth across the kitchen floor. She blew her nose on her mom's skirt. She moved the bookmark in her dad's book. She didn't respect her sister's personal belongings. If you keep this up, Maxine said, Santa really won't bring you presents. Claudine winked. He'll still come, though, Maxine said, to bring me presents. He will? Of course. Claudine said. Claudine decided to go downstairs and stand guard. You can't go downstairs on Christmas Eve, Maxine said. Max, said Claudine, I'm being bad. Claudine tiptoed through the dark house. Being naughty was scary. She camped out in front of the fireplace. He won't get by me, she told herself. What? Maxine shrieked. No presents! I guess your naughtiness worked, Claudie, her dad said, and walked to the kitchen to start breakfast. Will you bring in the paper, Claudine? Her mother asked. Claudine was happy to escape her sister's glare. Dear Claudine, I know you don't like me to come down the chimney. I hope you don't mind my leaving these out here. Ho, 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 Santa. P.S. I know you're not so naughty. It's not easy to fool an old wise elf like me. Giving out of what is our own is a transformative act. As a community of faith, we collect an offering, not for ourselves or our congregation, but to give to others, as a collective action of our community and as a way to live out our shared values. Please give with a generous heart to support the December Share the Plate recipient, the Minister's Benevolence Fund. This fund is administered by the minister and provides immediate financial assistance to members of this congregation or the community who are experiencing a financial emergency. It can mean the difference between someone making it through a difficult stretch or slipping further behind. And as always, 25% of our offering will go to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, feeding Houston seniors. We have 4 ways to give. You can text the number on the screen, go to our webpage for online giving, or you can put it in our offering basket or mail a check to the church.
Please find a comfortable place to be or in your seats, and place your feet flat on the floor if you can and if you will, so that you might feel grounded, more connected to the earth which nourishes and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in. As together we enter into a time of meditation followed by silence. In this time of waiting, sitting quietly as the skies darken and the days grow shorter, when all is outwardly tranquil, while readiness builds and grows within, we sit quietly, waiting, dreaming a dream and waiting for a miracle. And if the soldiers come to disturb the dream, breaking the tranquility, we will rise up against them, taking back our dream. And the oil, only enough for one night, will burn for 8. And we will be witness to the mystery of a miracle. And if the authorities call us for counting, demanding our attendance, but there is no place for us to lie down and rest, we will find fresh straw and gentle animals to create a bedchamber. And we will be witness to the mystery of a miracle. And if the ones who believe that only they have the truth come to tell us that we may no longer celebrate the wisdom of the ancients, we will cast a circle so we can dance. The moon will rise, shining her face upon us, and we will be witnesses to the mystery of a miracle. So we will sit quietly as the skies darken, waiting, filled with the anticipation, dreaming a dream, hoping for a miracle, and just before the skies gain light, when we are at our most tired, when despair begins to crowd out the hope and the dream, the dawn will return again. Then all the waiting and all the hoping and all the dreaming will give way to joy. Now, let us enter into the silence together. Amen, and blessed be.
In the beginning, Kate is teaching the kids about dinosaur air. That air you breathe, that air you have inside you every time you take a breath, that's dinosaur air. Dinosaurs breathed it. The kids' eyes are very wide. They take deep gulps of air just to have more dinosaur air inside them. The air we have is all the air we will ever have, Kate says. So we have to take good care of it. The kids gulp less. Consider the air already inside, Kate tells more. Actually, she says, we're all cousins. The kids look at each other, disbelieving. You? We? All of us? Kate says, way back began as cousins, way back in the beginning. The kids whoop, clap each other on the back. For the rest of the day, they savor air and call each other cousin.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Even if you don't consider yourself a theist or have never opened a Bible, you've probably heard or seen this verse quoted before. It is a favorite for printing on posters and mugs and stones and all sorts of other items, as well as for posting on social media and websites of all kinds. I have one such stone I keep in my office upstairs that I purchased while on a spiritual retreat. The verse comes from Psalm 46. And while it is always risky to pull a single verse out of context, let's roll with it for now. Most probably understand "Be still and know that I am God" as a call to meditation. Hearing these words might evoke images of sitting in a quiet and solitary place, perhaps surrounded by natural beauty, where one can take a break, slow down, and silently reflect about the nature of God or of nature itself. If that is true for you, this verse might serve as a beautiful and useful tool for spiritual practice and growth, as it does for me. However, this is not the image the biblical writer intended to convey. Be still in English is a passive verb. It is all about a lack of action, a lack of movement, a lack of sound. In the original Hebrew, be still is an active verb. An active verb. It means something more like unclench and evokes images of holding something so tightly one has to intentionally think about releasing one's muscles in order to actively let go of whatever it is one is holding too tightly. Whether that is fear or anxiety, which is what was originally meant in this verse, or perhaps even old ideas. Unclench and know that I am God. Unclench and know the sacred, the holy, the eternal, that which endures. Unclench and know that which is most worthy. Unclench and know love. Unclench and know joy. There are many aspects of our lives in which a letting go of old ideas or habits or practices would be helpful or useful or healthy. Buddhists believe suffering of all kinds results from attachment and practice a form of letting go as a way to ease worldly suffering. I like to think of the practice of letting go in the more active phrase of unclenching because it reflects the effort, the hard work it takes to let go of old ideas or habits, whether they be about God or our identities, what it means to be a man or a woman, a doctor or a parent, a teacher or a minister, an adult or a child, able-bodied, queer, white or black or brown, or even you. Or what it means to let go of ideas about what it means to be a church, or a family, or even bigger ideas about how our culture tends to think in so many binaries, like man or woman, able-bodied or disabled. Recognizing the act of letting go as a physical, intentional act of unclenching whatever it is we are holding too tightly, whether an idea or a habit or a practice, affirms the sometimes difficult emotional, cognitive, and spiritual work it takes to move ourselves along on the path of innovation. After all, changing something fundamental about what we are thinking or doing is exactly what leads to so many scientific breakthroughs. It can also lead us to joy, just as it did for the cousins celebrating their newfound kinship and their amazing feat of breathing dinosaur air. This is also what happened in this morning's story. Claudine broke with the traditional way of thinking about Santa. She didn't like the idea of Santa watching her while she slept or coming into her house while she was sleeping, even if it was only to leave her presents. So while Claudine's solution to act badly, to be naughty, and to sleep in front of the fireplace didn't work, And even though Claudine's sister, Maxine, resisted any change to tradition, Santa didn't resist and came up with a better solution. Santa was open to new ways of thinking and doing and was willing to change tradition in order to be respectful of Claudine's needs, ideas, and boundaries. Claudine's new ways of thinking and Santa's openness to change led to both innovation and joy. The Soul Matters theme for this month is opening to joy, a task or a spiritual practice that might seem extraordinarily difficult at times. So you might be asking, how do I open myself to joy? How do I feel joy when a pandemic still rages around the globe, a new variant is on the rise, or while I grieve and face holiday celebrations without loved ones for the first or umpteenth time, when I struggle with depression or other mental illness, while oppression still exists. How do any of us open ourselves to joy while whatever it is that tends to bring us down, whether big or small, remains true? I think part of the answer is to begin by recognizing when there is a lack of joy in our lives. Do you feel like there is not enough joy in your life? Do you feel a desire for more joy? If the answer is yes, you have a decision to make, and that is whether or not to seek out more joy. Then, once you have decided to seek out more joy, it is time to begin the process of opening yourself to joy. Even if, especially if you don't feel like it, the crucial next piece of the puzzle is to act. Recognizing, deciding, acting. These are the three stages in the spiritual process of opening to joy. Recognizing, deciding, acting. Of course, another part of the answer is to look toward others. How are they opening themselves to joy? What do friends and family members do? What practices can you share with each other? While joy may feel impossible to feel at times, it can also be an act of resistance to oppression or trauma, as is often true in expressions of Black joy. If you don't know what I mean by that, I encourage you to do some homework, some research. You can simply Google Black joy or look up the Black Joy Project by Cleaver Cruz. Similarly, gay pride is not simply an exuberant and extravagant and fun days-long party, but also an act of resistance in which we celebrate those aspects of our identities which are oppressed by the wider culture. So if, by now, you have arrived at the point of deciding you would like to be open to more joy in your life, I would like to invite you to consider the possibility that joy might arrive in a myriad of forms. What possibilities for joy might open in your life if you were to let go of or unclench from your ideas about joy itself? What it looks like, where it comes from, how it arrives. What if joy does not always sound like laughter, or move like a dance, or emerge at a party? What if joy could also be quiet, or peaceful, or solitary? This past week, I went on a scavenger hunt for joy. Though I did not bring with me a specific list of items to find, here is what I did discover. A planter with beautiful pink flowers and white flowers in this gorgeous blue, gigantic planter set out that someone planted, and I found joy in the beauty I was seeing. A palm tree with light coming from behind and shadows on the ground. This was a time when the clouds had moved away and the sun reappeared. I felt joyful to see the sunlight reflected in the sun and shadows on the ground. A single beautiful flower arising all by itself and blowing in the wind. And I felt joy in feeling that same wind on my face and on my skin as I watched the flower blow around. I found joy in the dark, dark red of a plant. And I found joy looking at the steps going down into the pool, anticipating warmer weather that will come again someday, and swimming I will do again someday. And in watching the pool water bubble, seeing the clarity, seeing the bubbles, feeling the motion, remembering, anticipating, all made me feel joyful. And then I walked around some and looked at some of the plants that had died or seemed to have died during last year's winter storm that took weeks and weeks and weeks of looking brown and dry and just completely gone, and seeing how, in fact, they had come back. We had lost hope in some of these plants, and they came back anyway. And so there was joy in thinking about that rebirth, that resilience, that regeneration, that seeming return from death. And then I saw Christmas lights that one of my neighbors had put out on a tree, and thought about how he had done that, not just for himself, but for our whole little community, to bring joy and light to all of us during a season of long nights and short days. And then I walked near to my house, my apartment, and saw this big bush or small tree filled with so many berries, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of berries. And I remembered last winter, after the storm was over, those berries were still there. And there were hundreds of birds that swirled and landed and ate the berries, and swirled and landed and ate over and over again. And I felt joy in anticipating the return of those birds to my home. And then I got close to my door, and I saw this giant aloe plant. Last year, shortly after I arrived here, Ale, who is the office administrator for communications here, said that she had a lot of aloe plants that she needed to find homes for. And I very warily, because I am not good at growing things, accepted an aloe plant on the condition that I was only its foster parent for a couple of years while I was here, that I would not try to move the aloe plant anywhere, and that she would not be upset too much if it died. And it grew, it's gigantic. I don't know if you can tell that from the picture. So I found joy in looking at the aloe and feeling successful that I helped or allowed something to grow, and remembering and thinking about Ale, who trusted me with it, and how she is such a wonderful person. going on a scavenger hunt for joy is just one way to begin the process of opening to joy. If you'd rather bring an actual list with you on a scavenger hunt, you can check out this month's Soulful Home packet, which includes a treasure hunt for opening to joy and lists in it specific things for you to find that help you think about opening. Once I began looking for joy, I found that joy is all around me, ever present and intimately intertwined with feelings of gratitude, awe, and wonder. I simply needed to open myself to experiencing all of it. Whether we use our eyes or our ears or our hearts or our sense of touch, joy is present, available, and abundant. In opening yourself to joy, what might you find? What treasures await? And, perhaps most importantly of all, how will you share it with each other? Amen, and blessed be. Let us now rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, which is a traditional African American spiritual. There is more love somewhere. Go forth in peace and love, with hearts, minds, and spirits awakened, experiencing abundant awe, wonder, and gratitude, celebrating a newfound openness to joy, and blessing all others as you yourselves are now blessed. Amen, and blessed be.
So we have some announcements. Social time will be here and on Zoom. And Christmas Eve will be outside with carol singing by all. So hope to see you there. And then last but not least, calling all instrumentalists. We are meeting on January 12th, Wednesday, in the sanctuary at 7 p.m. For those who cannot attend in person, we will also have it via Zoom. More details will be sent out, but this is going to be kind of a town hall meeting for all instrumentalists in our congregation. Also, if you don't play an instrument but are interested in maybe learning, or at least maybe the tambourine, or just doing something, everyone is welcome, okay, and at all skill levels. We are going to have a town hall to talk about how we can start contributing more instrumental music into our worship. And so I am so excited to see you all there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And yeah, with that, we will start our postlude. Sean? Go. Open house. Oh, there's an open house today. Sorry, it wasn't on here. From just at 12:30. 12:30 Westward Hall and on Zoom. And now our postlude.